the county administrator and a new budget chief and a new permits and inspection chief in Gray. We've got a well-run zoning department. We got a new budget, financial officer chief and a new personnel.
It says it's
We
bigger
had a
than
lot of changeover for the better for the county over the last year. And, things from my perspective coming in, only being here a year in county government, I've been impressed by the progress, and I'm also impressed by my peers sitting up here with me. We've had a very good working relationship, we're very collaborative, we communicate extensively amongst each other about issues and concerns and what we're hearing from the community. And so when I meet people or I hear something, I communicate it to my fellow peers on the commissioner staff, on the commission, as well as with staff. And likewise, I get feedback from Randy, Jeff, and John about concerns that they're hearing. So I think, I'm very proud of the teamwork and the effort that we're putting together. And I thank my fellow commissioners here for all the hard work that they do in working with me. So, thank you.
Mr. Harvey. Good evening, folks. It's good to be here. I have to comment on the Saturday morning breakfast here at the facility. And where's the gentleman that I call him Mr. Gravy Man? I almost didn't recognize him without his hat tonight. He serves the best sausage gravy in Washington County, if not in the state of Maryland. So if you want a good breakfast once a month, here's the place to be. So greatly appreciate that. Always look forward. It's a busy time of the year. As you've heard, we're working through the budget, but also our delegation from Western Maryland is in Annapolis. So it's very busy 90 days during the session. Some of us spend a fair amount of time both zooming in to meetings. Our Western Maryland delegation meeting is pretty much every Thursday morning. So we zoom into that to know what they're up to and what they expect from us. And I serve on the Maryland Association of Counties. So one day a week, if I'm not in Annapolis, I'm zooming in for those meetings. So trying to keep up with a lot of bills and initiatives in Annapolis. So there'll be somewhere probably in the neighborhood of over 3,000 bills that'll be what they call dropped in Annapolis. 500 of them are significant and more than likely will get passed. And so it's always important to stay on top of those, whether you support them or not support them. A lot of times you support them with amendments. And, so it's a very busy time of the year. With that, I'd like to, any other comments, Michelle? Okay. With that, we'll open it up to citizens' participation. I see I was handed a sign-up sheet, and we'll go in order here, I guess. Jack? Marty? Mayor of Logan'sville?
On behalf of the Rotary Club, I would like to thank the county commissioners and the county staff for coming tonight. Thank you, Michelle Creevy, for putting us on the schedule and making this all happen. Thank you very much. I know the commissioners are busy, and we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be here. Also, I wanted to make note and congratulate Kirk Downey for just being appointed judge. As far as the Hurricane Club, the pancake breakfast has been mentioned, and we served over 800. We're back to pre-COVID days, so it's good to know that. There is food in the back and coffee. You can smell that, so help yourself during or after the meeting. Hurricane Club just completed a very successful Christmas tree sale. As always, it's over at the Long Meadow Shopping Center. And if you were over there, you noticed we had a different spot in the shopping center since Sears is coming down. So, we had a very successful Christmas tree sale. We had a children's Christmas party. We had a Christmas tree lighting service. we had a house lighting contest that we run, the January pancakes, of course, and every once a month and through April. But, we're busy, you're busy, Washington County is busy. So, we do have questions, so I'm sure you're prepared. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Marty. Anyone else before we go into the list? Okay, first off is Jack Bennett.
Yeah.
Jack, come on up, please.
I have a couple of questions on Creighton Boulevard. The big new warehouse on the west side, is that empty? Go ahead and take this.
Oh, no, okay. No, I was just gonna say, there's a tenant for it. Okay, John.
It is not empty. It is about 7/8 full. There's a tiny little piece of it left that there.
Who's in it?
Volvo, I can just put that. Yeah, it's a 3PL operation for Volvo, and that building is owned by Peter, and they have most of that business.
Then, on the other side, then on the east side, the Amazon building, how full was that?
100% full. Amazon took that entire building, 2 million square feet. They actually put $80 million worth of personal property on the roof that the commissioners receive tax for, that they buy into the fire trucks with. So that's an excellent building for us. That's a really a prime example of highway interchange use of land and contribution to the tax rolls of Washington.
Good. So there's still a lot of land there. Any new proposed businesses planned in that stretch between Morgan's Avenue and Shearwater Road?
So the answer is yes. There are 5 parcels left along Creighton Boulevard and right along Showalter at the end of Creighton, on both sides of Creighton, right there at the light. They're all owned by the Perini family. And we have been helping the Perinis market those properties to various entities. Nobody has taken a lease on any of those properties. So those properties are not being actively developed right now, but they will be because they are zoned for highway interchange development. And I think we kind of all know the Perinis family. They will develop it eventually.
All right, good. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
And that's Jonathan Horowitz, he's our Director of Business and Economic Development.
Next is Mike Weaver.
Yes, hi, I'm really not a member of the ROTAN, even though they tried desperately to recruit me over the years. But I really appreciate everything they do here and both of you all. My concerns are basically, I've lived in Morgansville for probably 65 of my 75 years. And I've seen the changes that have gone on here. And my concerns are that, as we go forward with the 81 construction, all of that, I know that you all don't have anything to do with that state line. Do you know if there's going to be walls built for the noise pollution from that? And is there something else with the noise pollution? We've got a lot of increased rail traffic now. And you can hear from state line clear out to Charlotte Drive, they blow the whistles 4 or 5 times at each crossing. And I know Hagerstown has an ordinance that they can't do that downtown, I've been told that. I just was wondering how we can go about getting something done, maybe along those lines, to cut out all the traffic noise on that.
And I would agree 100%. If some of you don't know, I have that development over at Freedom Hills. And it's a challenge sometimes, because when that train comes in, I've counted 13. But I don't, can't CSX, someone smarter than me can sit down, maybe Scott has a way they do that. I'm sorry, Scott. But
He's already been volunteered, don't worry.
Oh, okay. Let Scott, maybe Scott, or go ahead.
Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. I've been in on the progress meetings with the state, as you mentioned. I-81 is a state project, which is our #1 priority in Washington County's transportation priorities. And they don't have a design yet for phase 3 or 4 is what they're calling the north end past exit 5. So right now, phase 1 project was the Potomac Bridge from West Virginia to Maryland. and that's been completed, as everyone sees up to exit 1. Then right now, they're planning for phase 2, which is from exit 1 to exit 5 at Hathaway Boulevard. Part of that project, they have a noise wall planned for some of the areas down in Williamsport along the interstate, but there's not a design yet for the phase up here towards our end in Morganville and things like that. So as they get further, they'll take noise readings and do the same approach where they'll see how the impact is to the community. And then if that's noise walls or any other kind of means are needed for that. So we'll continue to monitor that. Like I said, I gave you my card after this meeting and asked me kind of how it's going. As Commissioner Barr mentioned, we've been down with the delegation and sharing the message about how important I-81 is. So right now, from the consolidated transportation plan that the state has, they pulled funding for phase 2, but we continue to lobby and push for that. And like I said, we'll keep the community updated on how the progress is. But it is a state project with, county's interest with our citizens and community.
Scott, they did pull the funding, correct? So that means there's a pause or delay in all that work on 81.
Do we have an answer? It's a tough answer, I know, because for CSX and the training.
For the train noise?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a question earlier, Andrew and I were discussing that with a gentleman here. There's quiet zones in Maryland. Hagerstown's one of the only quiet zone areas in the state as far as a municipality. And there's CSX and Norfolk Southern, there's the big railroad companies, and they have a process that they go through to analyze that. One of the aspects of a quiet zone is you have to have an area where there's, right now, most of the crossings have 2 gates. If they have gates and lights, a crossing would need 4 gates and to be qualified for a quiet zone, and you have to request that from either Norfolk Southern or CSX, depending on that. There's other measures also that you can utilize, but that's the main one that's done. What I can tell you is those crossings are very expensive. We go through in the state, every couple of years will come to us and say, hey, we have some projects. The Washington County has 37 crossings where the county road goes across the crossing. So we just had an estimate for a project to upgrade it, just from the lights and gates, and it was $500,000. So those gates run, I was telling Andrew just earlier, just one gate going down, they have 2 gates, is about $75,000 each. So there's a lot of money and investment that goes into that, but we're gonna continue to look at that and see what the state can offer. This, again, offers some improvements, but when it comes to a quiet zone, that's a whole nother level of dealing with the companies at Norfolk Southern and CSX to request that in some areas. So I'll talk with a few of you afterwards about the locations and then some of the hurdles that the county would have to do to make a request for it, and then it's the decision of Norfolk Southern and CSX. There's not a lot of quiet zones in the state of Maryland. I know it's an issue that's come up in the past, and like I said, I could share more with you after the meeting.
The train traffic is really increased.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's many trains a day, and to blow the whistle and one crossing and 100-yard letters, it's pretty.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the other thing was to, as we go forward with the renovations on 81 and everything, I'm hoping that they have something for, the emissions on the out-of-state traffic, because we as residents have to have our vehicles inspected, of course, and everything every 2 years. But all the traffic in this area is non-resident. It's pretty much out of state and tractor trailers. And I just, every time I look at my windowsill, I live close to 81, and there's always soot in the windowsills and whatever. And that's only going to get worse. So I'm just concerned about, I'm basically concerned about the future of the town and the kids and everything. And I lost my glasses. Back in 1981, I moved here, and I had a septic system in the front yard when I built the house, knowing that the sewer was going to come. And when the sewer came in, we were told that there would be a surcharge on our bill for bringing the sewer out here. that would go 20 or 25 years. And that sewer charge is still being charged after 40 years. And I was just wondering if somebody knows what the basis of that is, why would we still be charged for that?
Hi, I'm Mark Bradshaw, Director of Environmental Management. Yes, you're correct. It was a service charge to pay back the debt associated with that. And then after that was done, it was converted over into a maintenance fee to maintain the sewer system because the treatment is actually provided by the city of Hagerstown. But here in a few months, that will all go away. That maintenance fee will go away. The county is in the process of building a line from Mullinsville clear down to Connecticut wastewater treatment plant in the Cedar Lawn. That project is scheduled to be completed in September of this year. And at that time, you will no longer get a bill from the city of Hagerstown for the sewer system. It will come from the county. So that maintenance fee will go away at that time. We also pooled randomly several customers, average use customers, medium use customers, and high use customers. And we determined from those bills we looked at, all of them will see a decrease in their quarterly sewer bill, ranges from about $18 to $57, depending on your usage fee. So that project, like I said, is scheduled to be completed in September. So we will be transferring the flow over to our treatment plant. Probably sometime in August, we'll start transferring it because we'll be done in phases. And when those transfers occur, the city will send you the final bill, and then you become county customers, and then we will start billing you per our rate structure. And like I said, that $64 will go away at that time. You will be considered a full service customer. Anything else?
Just one more thing, and I just want to thank everybody who's been responsible for the four-way stop signs all throughout Longview. But I can tell you that no one stops anymore. And I don't know if it's because lack of presence of the county sheriff's office or what, but it just seems like everybody drifts through the stop sign. And if we could get more visibility from maybe the county sheriff's office, if that's possible. And also the speeding, especially on Mullinsville Road, is horrendous. But that's it for me. Thank you.
The sheriff right there.
We'll get you some more presence over here with the sheriff's department. Usually it's a call, if we have a bunch of complaints in an area, we'll get priority and get it. We haven't received many complaints from Morgansville lately, so that's probably why you haven't seen an increased presence, any more than usual, but we have it now, so we'll get them here.
I know when I see them pull somebody over, I'll say, you can go up the street here and go another four-way stop.
Yeah.
Just put your foot in it.
But I'll make sure we add it up to our enforcement, that we'll get them over.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Dr. Walton?
I'd like to welcome you here also. I see you are looking a little plump after eating a lot of gravy. I know all about it.
Joke of the day.
I was contacted by a number of folks about the same problems that we all have. Mr. Weaver has already addressed 3 of the 4 things I had to talk about, so really I'm going to make it short. I have one question. I have a corner in my area on the southwest corner of Greenfield and Alpine that a lot has been cleared. The trees have been cut down and now they're just laying on the ground. I see that as a tremendous fire hazard and it would affect at least 5 houses around that lot. Is there anything that can be done? I know the weed control people got on him about the weeds and that's fine, but now there's aged firewood laying all over the lot. If somebody look at that and maybe have him move. I can't think of any law he's breaking, but there may be something you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, the staff's here, they'll talk about it. That's a tough one. I don't know what you can do about that. Private law.
Well, I can't think he's breaking any law, but should a fire start through lightning or a cigarette or something, it would all go up. It would be a whole square block full of fire. Thank you.
I'm Jill, I'm the director of the Department of Planning and Zoning, and weed control and junk is one of the things that we deal with in our department. Unfortunately, we don't have anything that controls the trees and shrubs and stuff like that. What we can do is I'll send an inspector out there and see if they were taken down legitimately. We do have a forest conservation ordinance that requires you to go through us if you're gonna cut down a certain number of trees. So I can send somebody out there. Did you have an address for that, or I can catch up with you afterwards?
Southwest corner of Greenfield and Alpine.
Okay, gotcha.
They're big trees that were healthy and you just cut them down. I thought he was just gonna remove them, but they're just laying on the ground. So.
Yeah, at this point, unfortunately, we don't have any ordinances that would take care of that, but I can send somebody out there to see if they violated the forest conservation ordinance.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Next is Jen Eversole.
My question is already answered.
Jen Eversole.
Go Ben.
So, once upon a time, you guys talked about a project out on Eastern Boulevard. They were gonna put a roundabout by the YMCA that was going to route behind the YMCA and go connect with Williamsburg Pike. What's the status of that? Does anybody know?
That'd be a Scott Hobbs question. It's fun calling out staff.
So Eastern Boulevard is a multi-phase project. So phase one for Washington County will be from Jefferson Boulevard to Security Road. So we're gonna advertise that project here this spring and start in the summer, fall. And it'll go for about a year. We're gonna go from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. And then from there, we're gonna jump over to where the YMCA is at Antietam Drive, so Eastern and Antietam. Years ago, we talked about a roundabout. It's gonna be a traffic signal. So it'll be a traffic signal, and the intersection will be straightened out, and we'll set a leg of the road up for a side entrance to the YMCA, and then that future extension to Marsh Pike behind the YMCA. So after we finish the traffic signal in a couple of years, that's about 2 years away, we'll go back and finish the phase in between that intersection in Antietam and phase one. And then in about 4 or 5 years, we'll be up to the extension behind the YMCA. So it's a long phase project. The road projects are very expensive, and we're working our way there, but it's in the capital improvement plan, and we're working our way starting with phase one here in the summer.
Speaking of extensions, so I don't know if this covers the county or not, but out behind, or out by the Comfort Suites on the Dual Highway, they put in that traffic light, and they have kind of like a little bypass running around behind it, going to that new warehouse. Is that county out in there, or is that still city? That's still city?
Boulevard in the city, and that's the city's development, and they work on the signal along with the state.
Okay, very good. So, another question that kind of, so our favorite restaurant, Pizza Hut, used to be down here on Pennsylvania Avenue. I know they tore it down, and I know they were gonna put an urgent care in there. Is there any word as to anything to become of that building?
Jonathan Lawrence? Yes, so I'll give you the whole story of that. There's no confidentiality to this. That property was torn down. It was rebuilt as a Med Express, which was backed by United Healthcare. UNI got their urgent care in over there first. Med Express decided that their business case didn't work anymore, and their parent company, United Healthcare, is paying the lease out. So the building is not even, it's what we call rough shell. Inside it's studs, there's nothing inside of it, it's literally a shell. Unfortunately, the owner of that property is getting their full lease payment for the entire lease term. So I actually had a conversation. It's funny that sometimes these things come up. It's another 5 years. It's about 4.5 more years. So, this is the kinds of things that my department likes to proactively reach out and do. So I had a discussion with the owner of that property last week, which is uncanny that you brought it up this week now. Because again, I'm a local resident here, and it just sort of sits there. It's kind of annoying. You're like, it's such a good piece of land. she thinks something decent should be made out of it, but unfortunately, the owner's getting paid.
Sure.
And so I've been to talk to the owners of the building, and I'll be completely frank with you, there's no confidentiality. They're getting $1,700 a month to pay out that lease. So if my department is able to overcome that burden, if I can find somebody that will pay $1,800 a month for it, that owner will cancel the existing lease and they will accept a new lease. $1,700 a month is pretty good for that, honestly. And you know that the medical industry has pretty deep pockets. So for me to find a replacement tenant that could pay more than $1,700 a month, it's kind of a long shot. But we're working on it for you. That's what your taxpayer dollars do. So we're trying. But again, it's a pretty high burden to overcome right there. So unfortunately, and probably news to the commissioners too, unfortunately, it may sit there until we can find somebody that wants to pay more for it. It's not a good answer, but sorry, that's the real answer.
I just had a little follow-up to the widening of the 81 corridor and how the funding got pulled. So I know that the House has been working on a resolution to it. What have the county commissioners been doing to help speed this process up and get us back on schedule? I know that we're finishing the exit up here, and I saw they were working on it today. That's great to see. Also, do you know if they're going to be working on Showalter? Because I know that exit needs to be desperately updated to allow for all this increased truck traffic. So what's the status on that?
I'll take this one. Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works. So yes, you noted the work that's being done at Logan'sville, added capacity on the on-ramps and 3 exit ramps, 3 of the 4 redoing traffic signals. So that's about a $4 million job that was planned to be done separately from the I-81 widening. They are kind of in the planning stages of looking at doing similar things at the Showalter interchange. That's a little trickier because it's set up kind of a cloverleaf configuration, causes a lot of problems with the weaving of traffic on and off. So we work with the district. The state highway is divided up into several districts. So some things we can kind of facilitate with the district office to do minor changes that are separate from working through Baltimore. That's where the big money is. So they're kind of in the planning stages of trying to figure out if there's something they can do to improve the traffic operations of that interchange with the mindset of hopefully, as Scott mentioned before, once we get to future phases of 81, that would set up well for the future widening so that they wouldn't need to go back and redo the interchange.
Right, I understand that. So how about the widening of the next phase of the widening going on to the 70?
I think the question was what's the county commissioners doing again?
That part, yeah. I mean, I can speak for our end, but I can tell you it's a full press. So anytime there's an opportunity to go down, to either meet with the Maryland Department of Transportation, the Secretary's office. Scott went down with Michelle Gordon, I believe, and had a private meeting. And I'll let them answer here. I think Dayton Annapolis came up as well. So anytime there's an opportunity, it's been the #1 transportation priority. We've been unified with the city, with our planning organization to emphasize the importance of 81.
Is there any widening at the top?
Pessimistically, this year, it doesn't look favorable. A lot of it's going to come down to the funding side. So I'll let the commissioners kind of respond to what they've been involved with.
Michelle's gonna help you with that.
Yeah, I'll just echo some of the things that Andrew mentioned. Scott and I did meet with the Secretary of Department of Transportation and his representatives, as well as a number of other senators and delegates down in Annapolis last week. We emphasized to them that our transportation priority was getting funding back in place for I-81 widening of that because it's the life safety issue at this point. What they expressed to us is that they're having a funding problem with the advent or the implementation of EV vehicles or electric vehicles. They're having a decrease in funding from gas tax, and that's impacting their ability to fund roads and improvements for state highways, federal highways, and things like that. So until they correct the revenue structure for funding of our transportation system, won't be able to put it back in. It's not cut completely, it's delayed is what they're telling us. They understand how important it is, but at this point it's been delayed. And every time that we talk with one of our delegates or senators or any of the state representatives, we make sure we emphasize how important that project is. And I'll let some of the commissioners talk about some of the other things that they're doing as well.
Yeah, briefly, I've been a commissioner for 5 years and I don't even use 81 half the time living right here because it's just a nightmare. But we have all been actively engaged with our legislators, just sending letters, money, visits to Annapolis. You know, it's we sort of work with the legislators, but it's, you know, them go down, but it seems like that this new administration is controlling the purse strings and cutting funds a little bit more than we like. So I wish I had a deadline answer for you, but nobody has that. But hey, rest assured, they've been pounded on every day.
You know, to be negative. When they say delayed or it's on pause, that's another 2-3 years delay. The cost will zoom higher and higher. If they're having funding problems now, just think about it, cost and what that would be if it's a 3 or 4 delay just to get the drawings and design in 10 years to break ground. So it is our number one concern. The people in Western Maryland, especially Washington County with 81 in our backyard, shouldn't be ignored with this issue. It is safety. I don't drive it. He doesn't drive it. You guys have noise and pollution from it. But yet it seems like they don't really recognize that importance to us, and I'm parsing my words, sorry.
I understand what everyone's been doing, our delegation and our commissioners and the city, everyone's worked it very hard. My view is we don't have the squeeze out here to get the attention of the political movers and shakers that are dominated by the importance of the counties around Washington DC and the I-95 corridor. The state manages and works with the federal government on this, and having worked on Capitol Hill and having dealt with budgets, I know that in other parts of the country, the way this has been worked to get over state obstacles is an earmark that is worked by their United States senators and a strong congressperson in the delegation that has some sway with the administration. In my view, unless we get an earmark from the federal government through the budget process, it's unlikely we're going to see much traction at all out here, regardless of the safety concerns, the congestion, because the view is this is Washington County, it's 12.5 miles, and it's more of a federal issue than it is their issue in Annapolis. That's how I view it. We're all going to continue to press and emphasize it, but unfortunately, that's the reality we're dealing with, and they're going to focus more on where more of the voters are and where they think more of their revenue is from. And this is a regional, national issue more than it is an issue for Annapolis, is the way I look at it.
Yeah, don't kid yourself, it's political too. I mean, everybody sitting up here is Republican. Probably most of you guys are Republicans. This is Republican County. And as he just said, we don't have the squeeze because we're not who gets this particular administration elected. So, we have a big population. We're mostly not Republican. That's just the way I feel about it. Right?
Well, on a positive note, I will have to say that it's not going unheard. Last Wednesday, we had the day in Annapolis. You had your local chamber, your local Hagerstown business groups, community leaders, Washington County leadership, Washington County, I should say. So there was nearly 100 individuals from this community, and I can assure you that every senator and every delegate and every meeting was 81.
And Guy, you brought it up directly with the governor numerous times, and you called him about it.
I have, and he is well aware of it. There is some politics to this, but as a matter of fact, when the governor was here back last summer, ironically, as his motorcade was getting ready to leave Mac Volvo, I saw his security detail whispering to each other, and I'm like, wonder what they're talking about. Well, what it was, 81 was shut down that afternoon, and they had to take the governor out a different path. And when they got to Pennsylvania Avenue, that was blocked, and I'm sitting behind them going, like this, because the governor got firsthand what we all experience regularly, if not weekly. And a week later, I asked him about it, and he admitted that he was well aware. So they're aware. I'm not quite as negative. I spend a good bit of time in Annapolis, and I think right now there's a lot of gamemanship and a lot of politics going on with the budget. I think there's a lot of bumping and tugging where we're going as a state, not just 81 and 12 miles. It's so I'm optimistic. I'm very hopeful. And just keep sending our message with respect.
Sorry, I can't hear you over the train.
So I think keep sending our message down without animosity or any dissension to it. That, they hear us, and they're aware of it. And I'm hoping that we can just keep pressing our message.
Well, I am going to be negative, with all due respect. 2 to 3 years ago, as president of Washington County Commissioners, our transportation meeting with state officials, I practically pleaded and begged for them to fund 81. And yesterday, listening to radio station 103.7, Jim Kirchhoff, on our lobbying coalition, Greater Hagerstown chairman, was interviewed. He said that he met, I believe it was the chairman of the transportation committee, and Jim stated that that gentleman or that chairman was not aware of any of the problems with 81. That was on a news broadcast. So we can plead, beg, and get the information, but it's time for them to recognize that Western Maryland, Washington County exists and fund that project.
Thank you, Jim.
That's all. Folks.
That's all.
All right, Jacob.
Hi, Bart Jacob, member of the club here. I was just concerned, we may have mentioned this before, Morgan's Avenue. Those of us who travel know it's just terrible. Especially today, we had one lane. But is this just a widening of the ramps that is being done? Or is there more to be done that we don't know about?
Staff's coming to rescue you here.
Pardon me?
The staff's gonna answer your question here in a second. They're talking about the answer.
So as far as when you say widening, because of the existing bridge, they're not widening underneath the bridge structure. There just isn't enough room for the project. But they are adding additional lanes on the ramps. So I know on the Transportation Advisory Committee, that's been an issue we've monitored for a long time, is the problems with vehicles queuing up or backing up onto 81 and not being able to get off. So particularly, I know that's been a problem on the northbound 81 direction. So having those additional lanes should help with the flow coming off. And again, they're redoing some of the signals and hopefully working on some of the signal timing through there. But it's more of an interchange enhancement, I would say, than a widening intersection, because they're not tackling, again, modifying the bridge and widening out the barriers there for that.
Next, we have Pat Ingersoll.
I apologize if I'm addressing the wrong group about this issue.
But earlier this month, we got a letter telling us there was a data breach in the county. It happened in November of 2022, not last year, but 15 months ago. I thought the letter was a scam. It came to me with this little icon up in the left-hand corner, and the address was Swanee, Georgia. Well, I freaked out, really. So I immediately called some county offices, and I started with public relations and the IT department. I got no answers. I got voicemail saying to leave a message. All that day, the whole day, I just called at different times thinking I would get a real live person, just voicemails. I did leave 2 voicemails at the 2 different departments. No one ever returned my call. I asked other people around me if they got such a letter, and they said no. So that made me all the more suspicious of the letter itself. I have a couple of concerns about it. For one thing, I would have thought a letter like this would have been on Washington County letterhead. Period. This was signed Washington County, Maryland. No authoritative signature. So I really didn't know where to start to call. That's why I called public relations and the IT department. And so wait and tell us 15 months after it happened. I couldn't understand that. If there was any damage, it was already done. And we weren't told where the breach happened and why. I mean, did it happen because we pay our water bills online, or we're voters? So we have no idea when and where it happened. The letter states that the county will pay for a year of monitoring service. Well, the first thing that monitoring service gets is your social security number and other private information. I don't know what made me madder, getting the letter or not being able to talk to a real live person about this. Everything's automated, and I'm old enough to know that usually after all of that, you can press 0 and some person will come on. It didn't happen. So I apologize if you're not the right group.
No, we are. There was it took, I mean, maybe someone's gonna take over for me here, but it took a while to determine what information the breach of the.
But 15 months?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. And it did, and I can't explain why no one answered your call. I mean, I can't explain that. Something, go.
I can't explain why your call wasn't answered or why, nobody returned your call. I'm very sorry that didn't happen. What I can tell you is that the cyber incident that we had was in November of 2022, and unfortunately, it takes time to investigate. It took us several months to get our systems back up and running, and once we got our systems back up and running, we had to contact an investigative firm to actually send that data to determine what data had actually been breached. And once we determined that the data had been breached, we then worked with an outside agency or an outside vendor to send those letters out to the persons who had their data compromised. So that's why the letter didn't come from us directly. We contracted with someone else to do that. So I apologize that you didn't have your call returned. The letter is legitimate, and there is a phone number on there. So that if you have additional questions.
I thought it was a scam.
Yeah. I can see that. There is a phone number on there, so if you have any other questions that I didn't answer tonight or that you want additional information for, they should be able to answer any questions that you have.
Well, do you know what part was breached? I mean, is it because we pay online?
No, it had nothing to do with water and sewer bills. It had nothing to do with your tax bills. It had primarily to do with employee information and beneficiaries and things like that.
Do you have any ties with the county employment?
No.
And the only reason I knew that it was legitimate is because a friend of mine knew someone employed by the county who got one of these letters.
Yeah, I got one and I took advantage of it. It's a free year. That is safe because it sounds like the exact same letter I got.
I got it as well, and so did several of my family members. So I understand your frustration. I
I'm
do.
not sure why you got it.
Yeah, I'd like to know why, guys.
I got one too. So what if we throw them out because we thought they were scammed?
You should go to the county's website, there's a thing that says notice of date of breach, click here, and you can see that.
And for those of you that didn't hear, Kirk mentioned that if you go out to the county's website on the toolbar there, there's a notice of data breach, and it should have all the information and the phone number that you can call so that you can sign up for your free 1 year credit monitoring service. If in fact you were impacted by it, it's only if you were impacted by it.
But we don't know. We don't know if we really were impacted by
They
it.
will tell you pretty quickly.
If you got the
if you
letter,
sign up.
if you got that letter,
Something happened.
yes, and you should call the number at the end of the letter. Which will take you to a call center and help you. with-
Were they gonna tell me what was breached? I mean, what?
Something that had some type of personally identifiable information.
Okay, well, I'll call, but it'll probably be on later. I'll have it.
Okay, that's everyone on the list. Anyone else?
I didn't realize there was a sign up list, but, I just want, it's great to hear that our sewer rates are gonna go down.
We need your name.
That's, Tim Lund, Morgan's Meadows. So it was great to hear that our sewer rates are gonna go down. Now, if you guys can just help us in getting our water rates, in line with the city and maybe look towards a regional water authority, that would be, an awesome thing. Also, in regard to the work that's being done up here at the interchange, it looks like that work is primarily just aimed towards improving the ramps. But what really needs to be looked at is the failure at the intersection of Shawley Drive and the light for the eastbound traffic in the morning. The traffic backs up clear back to Martin's garage. There's been traffic studies done for all the developments on Creighton Boulevard that identified that failure, but nothing was done other than just some token improvements. So I would just urge you to put back into the CIP, the phase 2 of Morgansville Road or Morgans Avenue, to just get that work done. Either that or just apply your APFO when new development comes in, make them make the improvements, make them bring it up to standards. Another fix would be the relocation of Shawley Drive, which was actually very close to being worked out, except there was just one small bit of right of way to be worked out with Mr. DeBura. That fell through. I encourage you to reopen that discussion with Mr. DeBura to see if Shawley can get relocated to line up with Oliver Drive. And I think that would fix a big problem there. So I would just encourage you to put back in CIP the Morgans Avenue Phase 2 improvements. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Lynn Bibby. I am a member here of the Morgansville and proud to be of the Brewerton and proud to be that member. Along with the Brewerton, my husband and I do a lot of fundraising, charity events / service projects in Washington County, and we usually give back between $60,000 and $70,000. We're very proud of that. We couldn't do that without the Morgansville Brewerton help and the community help in doing so. My concern, about a month ago, I read this newspaper article, and it said that Washington County commissioners are doing a party or helping with a party for a 250th anniversary of Independence events, and that the commissioners approved over a 4-year time period of $287,000 for a party. My concern is that's a lot of money for a party, because there's a lot of other things that could use help. One of our bigger things that we try to help out is with the homeless, and I don't think there's enough help for those who are homeless, and that needs to be increased in Washington County. But for $287,000 over a 4-year period, can't we do a party cheaper than that? Because that just seems like a lot of money. So I wanted your all's response, why that much was approved to have a party.
Well, the original budget for the 250th anniversary, like I said, it's spread over a 4-year period. So there's money that's allocated in the current fiscal year, the next fiscal year,
Right.
and the 250th anniversary doesn't happen until 2026. That's actually spread over fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27. The plan includes bringing back a fireworks event, maybe down at the Ag Center, to replace the Antietam Battlefield fireworks, because that's no longer happening. We want to make sure that we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of our great nation. It's also the 250th anniversary of Washington County. That will happen in September of that same year. That's why it's kind of crossing over all those fiscal years. The plan is to include events, maybe balloon activities, inflatables for children, and to just make it a community-wide event. We also plan to celebrate and highlight activities throughout the county. We're a very historic county. We want to make sure that each of our municipalities and each of our historic committees and commissions are also being celebrated as well. So we're planning to make sure that we're including advertising for all of those different events that are happening throughout the entire year to make it a year-long celebration. And we want to make sure that everybody in the county has the opportunity to visit all of those wonderful places. And that's what the event is for.
Again, I just want you to understand, with dealing with a lot of nonprofits, that's a lot of money for me to see a party go to, when I think that they should try to get a lot of that donated, either from businesses or like food trucks. Let them advertise, do their own thing, let them make the money, keep it local.
We do plan to solicit contributions from corporate sponsors, but in the event that we don't get those, we wanted to make sure that the event still happens.
Are you committed to the $287,000, or it's just there just in case they need
We
it?
included, I think, $60,000 in contributions potentially, so I believe that, is that the net amount, or is it net?
Yeah, it's the net amount, and we also are going to be doing like plaques for different historical sites and things like that. So it's not just for a party.
Well, if I could just make a comment here, maybe pass the microphone. This is a year-long event, a series of events with different municipalities. Our Visitors Bureau and all municipalities, everyone has looked at this economic development. There's an anticipation that it's going to generate a lot of tourism, a lot of events, and a lot of business activity for a lot of vendors, Boonesboro, Williamsport, Hancock, etc. And then we also have, part of this process is the celebration of the founding of Washington County, which is in September of that same year. And so it's anticipated that this is going to generate some significant revenues from what I have heard at the planning sessions and, from our Visitors Bureau and others. So, hopefully it's a net positive for economic activity in the county, and it benefits a wide cross-section of small and larger businesses and vendors.
Thank you for allowing me to at least give a voice. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Marty Mung, Paradise Church Road. Thanks once again for being here. I do have a question. It might take me a minute or two to get to it. The Martinsville Hurricane Club is not a Martinsville is not a municipality. We have no mayor, council, or anything like that other than Bob Waltman. But the Hurricane Club owns and maintains this building as a community center for the community. We have a park, a community park that we own and maintain for the residents of the area. In that park is playground equipment, a very nice playground system thanks to the county commissioner several years ago. That's provided and maintained by the Bertan building. There is a certificate on the table over here that was recently presented to us by the Washington County Bocce Ball organization, because we paid almost $12,000 to purchase inflatable bocce ball court borders, upgrading, their playing ability. So we were presented that by the Bocce Ball Association. What I'm getting at is the Bertan Club is everything we make. We do a lot of fundraising. We make good money, but most of it goes back into the community, helping people in need, families, and Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and every other organization out there. We help out as much as possible. The fire company, CRS, other organizations. The Bertan building itself, heavily used. Almost every day there's something going on here. Sometimes, several times on the weekends. The parking lot out here used very heavily. I can't remember when it was patched or sealed or anything like that recently. So my question is, does the county or the state have a fund, or do you know of an organization that could help us seal our parking lot? There used to be a Project Open Space, which had funds from time to time. Do you know any organization or county association or government that could help us out in sealing the parking lot? The end.
Yeah, Andrew Eshman, Director of Public Works. Probably not the answer you're looking for, but as far as program Open Space, that is a state program that's made available to the counties and the municipalities for park projects. So fortunately, that's not an option for community centers and things of the sort. I'll turn it over to the table. I mean, there are other ways that the county supports nonprofits, and I'm not sure the specifics of if the community centers are recipient or not. But at least when it comes to the park system and program Open Space, it's for the municipalities and the county for those funds.
Marty, if I could get your information, I'll reach out to our grant department to see if any of this would potentially qualify for any of our grant programs, and then we'll get back with you.
The other thing is the Bertan Club is an emergency early voting site for the Washington County Board of Elections. We make the building available for them. We are an emergency shelter for, we're an emergency shelter for the Red Cross and also the Mullinsville Elementary School. Back in the blizzard of '93, the state closed down the interstate, and 6 snow plows and about 50 cars came off the interstate and spent the night here at the Bertan building. The Red Cross came out, provided food, bunks and everything like that for people to sleep in. A couple years back, there was a gas leak out behind the school, and the Mullinsville After School Center relocated to our building temporarily. So the building is made available for, county and private organizations and the public. So I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but yeah, if you can help us out there, I'd appreciate it, Michelle. And thanks again, commissioners, for being here.
Anyone else? Last chance. Any comments up here?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank staff for being here. This is fun when they get to answer all the questions. So it makes my life a lot easier. So I do appreciate staff, and all the citizens of the area here for being here. I think, you know, we try to give you the best answers we can. Sometimes they're not great, but we try. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
There is food in the back.